Chardonnay is the most widely planted and most widely consumed white wine varietal in the United States.
It showcases terroir better than any other white varietal.
Chardonnay is location, location, location.
They're wines of place, they're a pitcher in a glass.
It's all about the climate and the specific site that you grow it in that helps to coax certain flavors and characteristics out of the grape varietal.
I really enjoy working with it because it's so versatile.
And Sauvignon Blanc I like, but I love Chardonnay.
You can influence as a winemaker with barrels, with malolactic fermentation, with different press. It's a really fun variety to work with.
It carries the winemaker's stamp. Chardonnay is very important to the Treasury Wine Estate portfolio. We offer a very distinctive and diverse range of Chardonnays. There's no other wine company that can express the diversity of terroirs between Napa and Sonoma County. And we consistently have the highest scoring portfolio of Chardonnays produced in Napa and Sonoma County. The majority of the Treasury Wine Estate's Chardonnays are in fact grown on the North Coast, be it in the Sonoma Valley or Napa Valley. The fog rolls in off the ocean and it's very cooling in the vineyards. It helps to preserve acidity in the Chardonnay grapes that we grow. We source our Chardonnays from as far north as Mendocino County on the border, all the way down south here to the San Pablo Bay, and then also to the east and up Highway 29 into Napa Valley. Lots of different soil types, microclimates. Dry Creek Valley is a small approved viticultural area within Sonoma County. It is one of the furthest north and also kind of inland, so less influence from the Pacific Ocean.
Home Ranch is planted on vineyards that I grew up on in Dry Creek Valley, close to Hillsborough. My son and I make the wines together, and we both agreed in the style, and it's aged in about 50% new French oak. It goes through malolactic in the barrel after fermentation. It's stirred. The malolactic adds as butter popcorn, but the lees take out a little bit of that. It's rich and flavorful and more fruit-driven, a little more crisp. Very typical of Dry Creek Valley.
Alexander Valley, it's at the very northeastern corner of Sonoma County, touching on the border of Mendocino. The Petaluma Gap kind of opens right up to the valley, even though it's pretty far north. We have two very unique vineyard sites there.
Alexander Valley is typically known for the great Cabernets, but there's a couple of spots like Robert Young Vineyard and Belle Terre that are really wonderful for Chardonnay as well, not far from the Russian River. We've had a long relationship with Robert Young since our inception. It was one of the first vineyards that we started working with, one of the first single vineyard wines along with Belle Terre Vineyard. So we have a long history together of making and growing Chardonnay. They have very different aspects. Robert Young's in the deeper soils up against the hillsides. Belle Terre is right on the Russian River, very gravelly soils, and they make different textured Chardonnays. With Robert Young Chardonnay, it's a non-malolactic Chardonnay. Belle Terre Vineyard, it's malolactic fermentation, really different personalities.
Belle Terre is a little bit more of an elegant style. It's got a little bit more citrus profile. Robert Young's a little more exotic and richer in style. The Sonoma Coast is definitely one of the most fashionable, kind of sexy appellations for California at the moment. The one main influence is the ocean proximity, which allows for cooler daytime temperatures, cooler nighttime temperatures, preservation of acidity, and it's also where we source the Chateau St. Jean Sonoma Coast Chardonnay from. Brighter, more citrus-driven flavors. Carneros is classic Chardonnay and Pinot Noir country. A number of our Chardonnays are sourced from the Carneros region because all of our winemakers love to work with this fruit. It is at the very southern end of Napa, and it's also at the beginning of Sonoma. It actually overlaps both regions. And as you can see, these breezes coming in off the San Pablo Bay really provide that kind of cooling effect that preserve acidity in both Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. classic Carneros Chardonnay gives you a very citrus, mineral-driven profile.
The San Clemente Napa Valley Chardonnay comes from the Los Carneros AVA. Even on a very sunny, warm summer day, it's at least 10 degrees cooler than, let's say, Calistoga. Because of that, Chardonnay has a very long ripening season, very nice flavors and acidity. To be tank fermented because we would like to emphasize the fruitiness and the freshness and the zestiness of the Chardonnay that comes from that region. We keep it cool, we inoculate with yeast.
At Etude, we produce the estate Grace Benoit Carneros Chardonnay. It's 100% from our estate ranch, from very special vineyard parcels on the ranch. The Grace Benoit Ranch is a fantastic piece of land in a very cool climate that's influenced directly by the Pacific Ocean and the San Francisco Bay, as well as the geology that's in the foothills of Sonoma Mountain that allows this very rocky, well-draining soil to concentrate the flavors and aromas of the Chardonnay. Very elegant wines from that ranch. The winemaking hand is very light, and there isn't this sense of artifact or makeup, you might say. No malolactic to retain the freshness and acidity of the wine and not to get in the way of the aromatics. Very traditionally barrel fermented and barrel aged, but no new oak to lend that flavor, you might say. The Chardonnays from this particular region of Carneros, and particularly this ranch, always have this delicate floral and stoned fruit, maybe nectarine and palm fruit aromatic to it, and a real nice sense of refinement as well. There's a sense of minerality and almost a zest or a nerve that come from wines from this area.
The Stag's Leap Napa Valley Chardonnay is 70% from Carneros, and then 30% of it is from around the Oak Knoll district. So mostly southern Napa. It's a very crisp acidic style, so we don't do any malolactic fermentation at all, so it retains absolute freshness. It's a beautiful, bright, more citrus aromas, more citrus flavors, tropical fruits. It's only 6 months in barrel, so it maintains absolute freshness.
My philosophy around making Chardonnay is to really let the fruit drive what you do, both in the vineyard and in the winery, so that you really are capturing what makes each one of these areas so special. We make a Napa Valley Chardonnay that really is an expression of what Chardonnay can do in the Napa Valley. It is a blend from our estate vineyards, starting with our Stanley Ranch in the Carneros, moving to our Big Ranch Road vineyard in the Oak Knoll appellation, then up to Yountville, and then finally our Gamble Ranch in the Oakville appellation. Each area produces a style of Chardonnay that has its distinct personality. From our southern cooler vineyards, where you have this great expression of minerality, citrus notes, a very bright freshness, I really like to pull back on the amount of new oak and malolactic that we use. You go a little bit further north, you have wines that have great richness, texture, so using a little bit more malolactic, a little bit more new oak, works really nicely with the wine and it integrates itself perfectly.
Oak Knoll is one of the newer defined viticultural areas for Napa Valley. You still have that cooling San Pablo Bay breeze influence in Oak Knoll, and it is definitely considered to be at the southern end of Napa Valley, producing wines of higher acidity, maybe a little more elegance and finesse than if you continue all the way up valley to areas like Calistoga.
I'm really excited about our newest Chardonnay, the Luminous, coming from Oak Knoll. Luminous means light or radiance in Latin, and I think that that's a perfect way to describe fruit from this area. I love the texture, it's very polished. There's this beautiful lemony tangerine note that finishes with this beautiful core of minerality.
Our main Chardonnay vineyard is Gamble Ranch, which is right at the beginning of Oakville, which is really the heart of Napa Valley.
Gamble Ranch is Napa Valley. It's between Yountville and Oakville Crossroads. It produces beautiful Chardonnay. It's a really rich Chardonnay. It's on deep clay and makes these real round wines, more butter citrus. It's barrel fermented, malolactic and lees stirred, but it's aged for over 1.5 years. So that adds a lot more density, a lot more of that yeasty, nutty character. You get this creaminess and richness in the wine, and it has a lot to start out with, so you end up with a bigger, richer wine. Not as delicate as our Dry Creek wine, more evolved and more fat. It's a big fat wine with a lot of stuff in it.
The Private Reserve Chardonnay is a wine that we've been making since the 70s. The fruit comes from our Gamble Ranch, which is a spectacular vineyard in the Oakville appellation. Stylistically, the wine is very rich, layered, complex, wonderful notes of citrus and brioche, some hazelnut, and with an acidity that really provides focus to the wine and a nice long finish.
In our elegant, cool climate Chardonnays, we have the Etude, we have Stag's Leap Winery, we have the Chateau St. Jean Sonoma Coast. Those will all be a profile of citrus, mineral-driven, not your overly oaked, bigger styles of Chardonnay. In our warmer climate, we have the Beringer Napa Valley, we have the single vineyard Chateau St. Jean Belterre, we have the new Beringer Luminous Chardonnay, and the St. Clement. They're a combination of both balanced and elegant. Our rich, warm climate Chardonnays would include the Beringer Private Reserve Chardonnay, the Sabragia Home Ranch Chardonnay, definitely the Chateau St. Jean Robert Young Vineyard Chardonnay, and also the Sabragia Gamble Ranch Chardonnay. A more powerful style of wine, less of the tart fruit to richer, more tropical, more baked apple characters, pineapple. Bigger style of wine, a little more oak and a lot more kind of texture and weight to them. Chardonnay offers the wine drinker a lot of complexity. Our sites are as individual and unique as our winemakers.
I think if you look at a consumer, there's a reason why we still sell so much Chardonnay. It's because the consumer likes Chardonnay.
The Treasury Wine Estates portfolio of Chardonnays really offers every kind of style for every kind of white wine drinker. Really a great, diverse selection.